and necessary. And we can set a course to make real change for the benefit of all people by bringing together key players from around the world and giving voice to citizens in every country. Because a strong food system means
no matter your race, no matter your class, no matter where you live,
women and men have equal opportunities to produce and access nutritious food,
which promotes human health at every step
without degrading land and water resources.
Significa una agricultura familiar.
Provide us, the community, with stability.
All year round, every month, every day of the week.
Even during a pandemic.
We are all connected, and we all have a responsibility to act. We must be bold. We must think and act differently. Transforming our food systems is the most powerful action we can take to solve our biggest problems. Because together,
we can build a just and resilient world.
A just and resilient world
where no one is left behind.
Where no one is left behind.
Where no one is left behind.
Where no one is left behind. Join us today.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Elif Bereketli, and I will be the moderator for the upcoming session entitled Leader Statements, Multi-Stakeholder Commitments and Constituency Voices. I'm delighted to announce that we have with us heads of states who will join us and share their statements and commitments, as well as the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I'd like to introduce the first segment of this session. We'll have interventions and commitments from heads of state and governments that are showing foremost leadership on improving food systems at national, regional and global level. Dr. David Nabarro this morning mentioned how throughout the last 18 months, over 1,500 national dialogues have taken place. Countries are determined to see through a change. Dramatic change, he called it, not simple window dressing. So I'm delighted to be able to call on heads of state to hear what they are doing to transform food systems in their countries and beyond. Let's hear first from His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe.
Your Excellency Abdullah Shahid, President of the 76th Session of the General Assembly, Majesties, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, population growth, changing consumption patterns, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and increased urbanization are straining the ability of supply chains to provide food sustainably. Those who are already vulnerable are the most affected. My government is implementing the agricultural and the food systems transformation strategy towards reviving, restructuring, and transforming agriculture. This strategy is envisaged to accelerate rural development as well as result in equitable access to safe and nutritious food for all, while building resilience to vulnerabilities and shocks. Due attention is given to the adoption of food system solutions and achieving the targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in line with the country's nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. The remarkable successes registered to date under my country's various agriculture initiatives include increased production and productivity by smallholder and communal farmers, inclusive of women and the youth, sustainable utilization of land, and improved incomes for rural communities. The importance of exchanging experiences and the best practices, including appropriate technologies, cannot be overemphasized. Partnerships remain critical as we reach out and draw from the various competencies in our respective countries. I wish to call upon our partners to increase financial support and capacity building to the most vulnerable, targeting institutions and actors along the food system's value chain. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for joining us and for sharing your approach and the work you're doing. I'd like to call on next Su Excelencia Luis Lacalle Pou, President of the Eastern Republic of Uruguay.
Los sistemas alimentarios juegan un rol fundamental en Uruguay.
Play an essential role in Uruguay as a producer and exporter of food, with a profound economic, social, and environmental impact, and putting us on the international stage. Our country seeks to feed the world, and therefore we've played an active role in the preparation of this summit, and we've celebrated dialogues at national and international level, bringing together many people, and it's been the basis of our roadmap that we present today, based on Uruguay's SDGs and other instruments to bring about transformation and create healthier, sustainable, and inclusive food systems. Uruguay has institutional and normative standards reflected in public policy that enjoy broad participation, with commitments in the environment and in issues such as gender, issues such as urban development, population increase, and an increase in per capita has an impact on production and consumption of food. Therefore, it's urgently needed for us to bring about transformation in food systems. And this means that all sectors must participate, the government, the private sector, and civil society. Producing more with less impact on natural resources is key for the future. And this can be achieved with greater investment in farming, more technological innovation that will enable higher food production based on sustainable standards. Sustainable intensification of farming entails rising to the challenge of adaptation and mitigation of climate change. Our country strives to create a low carbon farming industry, low greenhouse gas production, but it has to do so taking into account the economic, social, and cultural aspects. And that means that we need to have a free, fair, and inclusive system in order to promote sustainable development. So we've been making a concerted effort to create sustainable food systems for today's generation and the future, in line with the 3 pillars of sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those remarks and observations. We are humbled, encouraged, and energized by having so many member states join us on this important journey. Next, let me welcome to our platform His Excellency Taneti Mamu, President of the Republic of Kiribati.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, in His holy name, greetings from the people and the government of the Republic of Kiribati. My fellow world leaders, today we gather to discuss something very essential to the survival and well-being of mankind, and that is food. In every culture, food plays an important role, and the people's interaction with food is determined by culture and the environment. The culture of the Kiribati people is deeply rooted in food, and every event, whether big or small, is marked with gathering of family and communities and sharing of food. How we prepare, eat and store food has long been determined by the natural and fragile environment we live in and the traditional technologies at our disposal. With globalization, there have been drastic changes to the way we live and view the world, and this is particularly true in the way we prepare and consume food. The variety and supply of food has multiplied, with highly processed imported food becoming the popular choice based on the acquired taste, convenience, and affordability. From the findings of the Kiribati Food Dialogue, we are reminded that food not only affects and determines the people's health and well-being, but extends to impact our fragile atoll environment to the various components of the food systems. As a country heavily reliant on imported and low-nutrient foods, Kiribati ranks among the highest in NCD prevalence. At the same time, we are importing waste that come in the form of food wrappings and packaging, which add further to environmental problems from waste and pollution, which is further exacerbated with the absence of proper recycling and well-functioning waste management facilities. My government has set out a 20-year vision to transform Kiribati into a wealthy, healthy, and peaceful nation. This people-centric vision relies on a healthy population which needs to be powered by good, nutritious food. I have faith in human ingenuity, collaboration, and partnership to continuously innovate and transform the global food systems to ensure food security, environmental integrity, and resilience in the face of climate change and in the wake of the global pandemic we are in now. The Mauritaroi or the Tabemo, meaning abundant health, peace, and prosperity to us all. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Again, an intervention that shows us why we are hosting this summit and why our collective actions matter. Next on, I'd like to invite His Excellency Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, President of the Republic of Kazakhstan.
Mr. Secretary General, dear summit participants, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for convening this summit. The world faces many new global challenges such as climate change, the COVID-19 pandemic, political and economic instability. But creating conditions for sustainable food systems is literally a life-giving priority. Food systems touch every aspect of human existence: our bodies, our environment, our economies, and our cultures. The World Food Programme estimates that 270 million people will face food shortages this year as a result of the coronavirus pandemic and climate change. The global water deficit may reach 40% by 2030. Kazakhstan is an active participant in the global food supply chain. We are committed to green and sustainable development of the agricultural sector. Our country is one of the 10 largest producers of food, wheat, and flour, exporting up to 7 million tons of wheat per year. Despite constraints, we have also increased the export of oilseeds to more than 1 million tons per year. Yet, a food system must be economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable. Kazakhstan is located in a risky agricultural zone. It is subject to arid climate changes. 40% of the country's water comes from neighboring countries. To achieve more efficient use of land and water resources, we are increasing land fertility, introducing water-saving technologies, and digitalizing water supply systems. It has become very clear that when it comes to sustainable food systems, issues related to water diplomacy are relevant, even critical, for many countries. Food systems and water management systems, including the use of transboundary rivers, are inextricably linked. Food systems, frameworks, and agreements must reflect this. Kazakhstan initiated the establishment of the Islamic Organization for Food Security, which today includes 36 countries with 1.4 billion people. Through it, Kazakhstan systematically provides humanitarian assistance in the form of wheat and flour to countries in need, including Afghanistan. Mr. Secretary General, summit participants, there is much work ahead. We must strengthen agro-technological, scientific, and innovative interactions between all countries. We must also improve finance, investment, transport, and logistics. The Food and Agriculture Organization will need to play an increasing role in ensuring global food security and a sustainable ecological system to support it. I hope this summit will help us progress toward SDG 2, ending hunger and ensuring food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agricultural development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is really quite incredible to hear from heads of states from countries with very different contexts, different sizes and makeup. Next on, I'm delighted to welcome another formidable leader, Her Excellency Katrín Jakobsdóttir, Prime Minister of Iceland.
Dear colleagues, the government of Iceland welcomes the UN initiative to gather members at this Food System Summit. It is now evident that we exceed planetary boundaries in a number of ways, taking more from Mother Nature than is sustainable. How we produce, distribute and consume food is not only harmful to our environment and our existence, but also wasteful. And at the same time, we have up to 2 billion people that are malnourished or hungry, so we have failed to make progress towards the elimination of hunger. So with all the hopeful resolutions and re-energized promises coming out of the summit, we must not fail those who are in desperate need as we speak. International cooperation is the national pathway for Iceland towards improvements in our approach to food. Being an island nation in the North Atlantic, a healthy ocean is to our existence what fertile soil is to many other countries. Therefore, we welcome the proposed Blue Food Alliance. It can highlight the significance of aquatic food in providing valuable nutrition in the diet of billions of people. This alliance should re-energize our effort in areas where there is broad consensus, but implementation falls short. One such area is the evil of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. Eliminating IUU fishing is pro-poor, pro-nutrition and pro-nature. Iceland is mindful of the cross-cutting reach of our action tracks. Therefore, we do not only declare our support to the School Feeding Coalition, but remind us all of the importance of aquatic nutrition to the growth and well-being of children seeking education. Finally, the current unsustainable state of our food systems is also an expression of a bankrupt value system. There are still influential actors who profit enormously from the plundering of the planet. It takes courage to simultaneously transform our value systems and food systems. And this we must do as we are now in a transition from urgency to emergency.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those insightful remarks. They're all very thought-provoking and eye-opening indeed. Our last speaker for this first set of heads of state interventions come from Sweden. I'd like to welcome His Excellency Stefan Löfven, Prime Minister of Sweden. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to address you all today. The right to food is a human right. Food systems are complex. They include many aspects of our common challenges, such as equality, the environment, the climate, working conditions, and health, to name a few. Gender equality in food systems is especially important. But food systems also provide great opportunities. Sustainable food production should be regarded as a key solution to our global challenges. The food sector, and particularly the agricultural sector, is affected by climate change. This makes it important to develop a food system that can mitigate and adapt to the effects of a changing climate. In Sweden, substantial work has been done based on our current food strategy. It has enabled us to expand dialogue with actors in the food system and build strong partnerships between the public and private sectors. In our national pathway, we are taking further steps to deepen public and private partnerships and dialogue. We will also continue to work towards a more sustainable food system, and we have identified areas of particular importance: school meals, food loss and waste, healthy and sustainable diets, research and innovation, and One Health. These are areas in which Sweden will engage in order to enhance our efforts even further. The Food Systems Summit must generate an ambitious outcome. A robust system of follow-up and review within existing structures is necessary to ensure progress beyond the summit. The transformation of our food systems must address all dimensions of sustainability in line with the 2030 Agenda. Thank you.
We have heard from a group of leaders leading a diverse set of countries, but all committing to changing the way we are doing things. Thank you for your support and your active engagement. Next on, we have commitments to action from the Blue and Aquatic Foods Initiative. Let's hear what they have to say.
The power of the ocean is undeniable, and so is its promise.
Laut adalah tempat kami mencari nafkah, dan di lautlah tempat kami berusaha.
La pesca para nosotros es lo más importante que hay.
And food from the sea can provide even more than jobs and income for fishers and fish workers. Aquatic foods can help us tackle hunger, malnutrition, poverty, and climate change, meeting many of the world's sustainable development goals. Nearly 1 in 5 people rely on fish for animal protein globally. The superfood provides essential micronutrients for those who eat it. And by supporting sustainable small-scale fisheries and fish farming, the ocean can be a growing source of nutrition for the world. So as world leaders look to ensure our global food system can meet growing demands while being resilient to climate change, it is time to invest in aquatic foods. Because the ocean can help power us today and in the future.
Iceland welcomes the launch of the Blue and Aquatic Food Alliance. We're a small island nation, and to us, a healthy ocean is what a fertile soil is to others. This alliance can highlight the significance of aquatic foods in providing valuable nutrition in the diet of billions of people. We appreciate the importance placed on aquatic food by the newly formed School Feeding Coalition. Therefore, Iceland supports the proposed Blue Food Alliance.
Growing up in Fiji, I know the vital importance of food as the mainstay for a healthy and sustainable diet. Blue foods have a vital role to play in creating food systems for the future. But to realize that potential, we must work together.
In Africa, recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic must converge with inclusive and transformed food systems, innovation, and the blue economy to allow people to feed themselves, have dignified work, and protect the environment and the natural capital that is the source of the continent's wealth. This means, in short, investing in a blue-green recovery. And that means investing in small-scale fisheries and aquaculture, in the ocean, in our Great Lakes, and on our fish farms.
The UN Food Systems Summit 2021 is a call to action. I ask every member state to make the most of aquatic food systems for sustainable, healthy diets.
Thank you for this inspiring video and for your commitments. Next, as part of our nature-based solutions action area, is a commitment from the Aim for Climate initiative. We now move on to our second set of heads of states commitments. I would like to introduce our first speaker, His Excellency David Kabua, President of the Republic of the Marshall Islands.
Yagwe and greetings from the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Food system transformation is critical for my nation. Today, we rely almost solely on imported foods. An estimated 80 to 90% of the food we consume is produced overseas. Ours is an atoll nation that is small in landmass and geographically isolated, driving high costs for imported foods. This has been brought into sharp focus through the challenges and impacts of the global pandemic. In addition, with the limited access to international trade and the natural disasters that we face as a small island developing states on the front lines of climate change, our food and nutrition security is vulnerable, despite its necessity to achieve development aspirations. This Food System Summit has catalyzed essential discussions about our food system, and our national dialogues provided a forum not only to address challenges, but also to initiate resilient transformation. Through our national dialogues, we have identified a number of priority themes which will drive food system transformation over the coming decade. We are, above all else, a large ocean state, and so foods from the ocean's blue economy are vital for food transformation, both for ourselves and for the global community. And though we may be a small island nation, we have the potential to expand agricultural production in new and sustainable ways, to support a diverse and nutritious diet. Lifelong education and awareness for everyone are essential ingredients in making our plans a reality and in bringing food safety to the fore. Finally, our ambitious pathway for food transformation must be the result of sustained collaborations throughout our society, which reflect shared responsibilities and benefits towards a sustainable and resilient system. Our priorities are driven by a set of transformative actions. These actions maintain ecosystem health, promote the preservation of our traditional culture, and ensure inclusiveness across society, and enable progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. We are a nation of oceanfarers and navigators, and I believe we now have a map by which to navigate as a whole nation to a resilient and sustainable future and a healthy society for all. Our food and nutrition security and our food system as a whole must be of primary concern, and this summit shines the brightest lights on this issue. Kumoldada, and thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your intervention. Next, someone who has put people at the center of his reform agenda, and I know for whom agriculture and sustainability in terms of land and water use present real challenges. I'd like to call upon His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, I start. Mr. Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, I would like in the outset to address my thanks to Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, for taking the initiative to invite to this important summit. This is a reflection of his concern and even virtually to be held, despite all challenges and difficulties we face nowadays on a daily basis as a repercussion of the corona pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, our summit today is held at a critical time faced by our world. This requires us to exert more efforts in order to face the challenges that we need to face. Maybe you agree with me that the establishment of sustainable food systems that achieve food security for our people is in the forefront of our priorities in all different parts of the world, especially with the climate change phenomena and the repercussions represented in higher temperatures, water scarcity, deterioration of the soil, and decreasing cultivated land. Of course, these are with some social and economic effects and the political difficulties in some countries. Of course, famine is a threat threatening many parts of the world, especially in Africa. And this requires developing active and quick solutions in order to save millions of people, mostly men, women, and children. This limits the capability of the countries to reach the sustainable development goals. Here, Egypt realizes early on what this summit represents. It is an opportunity to suggest ideas and solutions to face those challenges and to suggest a role that Egypt can play in order to enhance the international cooperation and providing the necessary financing. Egypt has taken its role very seriously within the framework of the preparation for the summit on a national and regional levels. We initiated a national dialogue starting December 2020, involving all government entities, representatives of the private sector, and the civil society representatives. This has resulted in agreeing on a national document of food system that is sustainable, and we joined the Alliance for school meals in order to ensure that school children have good meals and nutritious food. Egypt is one of the biggest countries implementing this program in the region. On the regional level, Egypt has been very keen on unifying all the African efforts during the summit in a way that would reflect the specificity of the challenges facing the continent of Africa, especially the food security issues. And we are very keen to cooperate with our brothers in Africa to face all those challenges and to speed up the African Union agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pretty sure that the dialogues that will take place within the framework of this summit will contribute positively to support our work to achieve food security for our people, and in deepening up the right for food as a basic human right for everyone. I think our success today is bound to our discussions today, and the results will come out with in order to have food systems that are sustainable and can be implemented fully based on the priorities of each and every country. We need to provide the necessary support through innovative solutions and international cooperation that brings all countries together within the framework of the United Nations to develop follow-up mechanisms that are flexible and active as well as periodic. This will all contribute to achieving our objectives and our aspiration to meet the needs of our peoples. Thank you.
Shukran. Thank you, Your Excellency. Next, we are going to hear from the leader of a country that do extraordinary things in progressing food systems in his country. I'd like to invite His Excellency Nguyen Xuan Phuc, President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, to deliver his speech and share his commitments of action.
Ladies and gentlemen, cooperation among countries, partners and actors within the food systems must serve the interests of the people. Food security lays the groundwork for Vietnam's efforts in eradicating poverty, improving the people's living standards, promoting the transparent, responsible and sustainable development of the Vietnamese agriculture. At our summit today, I wish to make a number of proposals as follows. First, we need to pursue a multi-value agricultural development model encompassing social, economic, cultural issues, landscapes, and the environment. It is necessary to develop a green, low-emission, and nature-based agriculture that is climate resilient and responsive to the complicated evolution of COVID-19. Priority should be given to promoting rural economic development, ensuring food supplies, reducing food waste, effectively managing natural resources, biodiversity. Second, make necessary investment in agricultural infrastructure conducive to rural production and economic development. Private sectors should be encouraged to make responsible investment. We should also better expand public-private partnership models. Vietnam has numerous highly innovative models to ensure food security under the common name of My Garden, revolving around a system of shared values, obligations, actions, and interest. We stand ready to share our experience on this matter and look forward to the support from the international community to multiply this initiative. Third, formulate and frequently update a national nutrition balance plan as the basis for production and distribution. It is also essential that we step up education and information dissemination to create a healthy food system, appropriate and nutrition-balanced diets, and green and responsible consumption trends while preventing wastefulness. Fourth, digitalization needs to be accompanied by policy and institutional reforms that revolve around farmers and consumers. We need to form sustainable agricultural value chains, focusing on food safety and standardization of procedures and qualities. Fifth, Vietnam aspires to establish innovative networks and stands ready to participate in cooperation arrangements led by the UN, as we aspire to become a food innovation hub in the region. Sixth, to expand international cooperation in conducting studies and forecasts and building early warning systems for natural disasters and diseases. It is also necessary to ensure the sustainable management of land and water resources, biodiversity and cross-border waterways and marine resources. If we all work together, nothing is impossible, including the realization of the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We now head to the east of Africa. Here, another country has really strengthened its agricultural strategy through numerous initiatives and has been active to make sure that farmers reap the dividends of their work. I'd like to welcome Her Excellency Samiha Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, access to food is a human right, and sustainable food systems are vital for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Norway recently presented a white paper on the steps we will take to reach the SDGs by 2030. We will commit to doing more. We will promote food safety as part of One Health. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. The One Health approach, connecting human, plants and animal health, must be at the top of the global agenda. We will reduce food waste. Food should never be wasted. Norway will strengthen its food waste agreement with the industry. And we support the establishment of a coalition to end food waste and loss. We will take relevant climate action. The food sector is heavily affected by climate change. This sector must both cut emissions and adapt to change. Norway will continue to make its food production policies more climate friendly. We will work with partners in tropical forest countries to ensure that supply chains do not contribute to deforestation. Food from oceans deserve a greater role in our food systems. Norway will engage with the Alliance of Aquatic Food. We will continue our leading role in initiatives such as the Ocean Panel and the Global Action Network on Sustainable Food from the Oceans and Inland Waters. We will reduce premature deaths from non-communicable diseases. And we will strengthen our efforts to promote a healthy and sustainable diet. Norway will continue to work with the Healthy Diet Coalition. And we will empower the smallholder farmer in our development assistance. And we will place farmers at the core of the seed system. Seed security is key. We will take active part in the Zero Hunger Coalition. And we will continue to combat food insecurity. The growing number of people suffering from hunger is alarming. Hidden hunger and malnutrition, especially among children, are of great concern. Small-scale food producers have a key role to play. We are pleased to have joined the School Meals Coalition. And finally, we will support indigenous food systems. The full participation of local communities and indigenous people must be ensured in the follow-up of the summit. So, now let's roll up our sleeves. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Her Excellency Erna Solberg, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Norway. As we move forward, we would like to focus on a few commitments coming from leaders and institutions who know what it takes to advance the means of implementation. So, let's hear first from His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia.
Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, mine is a call, a clarion call for stronger implementation mechanisms. What will it take for us to deliver a transformation of our food systems? This summit is happening at the beginning of the decade of action to contribute to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Resilient and inclusive food systems will impact directly all the 17 SDGs. I am happy to see the commitments being made by our heads of state and government today. Africa has taken the Food Systems Summit seriously across the continent. In all the several countries that I recently visited, we see both national and independent dialogues happening, clearly drawing out the priorities of each country. I have seen firsthand the amazing commitment shown by our leaders toward inclusive agricultural transformation. The biggest opportunity that we have in our midst is the leaders recognize that a business as usual approach will not deliver against the challenge of our food systems. Every leader needs to put in place and prioritize implementation of national pathways for food systems transformation. They need to put in place appropriate systems transformation. They need to put in place appropriate mechanisms to coordinate across sectors and to include as many stakeholders as possible. Specifically, they need to pay attention to strengthening the resilience of our smallholder farmers who are central to production systems on the continent but are not able to earn a living income from the work they do. Let's put in place programs that advance inclusivity, and let's monitor and report on progress. We must fix our broken food system, and this is the time we need to build a people-centered, resilient, and healthy food systems. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Next, we have the pleasure to hear from Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the WTO, an inspirational leader, an inspirational woman who's always so on message.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations Food Systems Summit is being convened under extraordinary circumstances. Today's virtual format would have been inconceivable before the COVID-19 pandemic. I commend His Excellency UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the Special Envoy for the Food Systems Summit, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, for their perseverance in making sure this important meeting goes forward at this moment of rising hunger and food prices. The pandemic has taught us many lessons. One is that we as humans must live in harmony with nature. We cannot afford business as usual with food systems that exacerbate the climate crisis and deplete vital land and water. The time for greater sustainability is now. Another lesson is that international trade matters for food security. Even as global goods trade fell by over 7% in value in 2020, trade in agricultural products held stable, becoming a lifeline for access to food. Trade feeds 1 in every 6 people on this planet. Without trade, the Food and Agricultural Organization tells us many countries would be unable to feed themselves. This means that we have a collective responsibility to leverage international trade to build the sustainable food systems we need. We must support and reinvigorate the multilateral rules-based trading system, which we have built from the ashes of the Second World War. The WTO rulebook aims to make international trade first and foremost reliable so that countries can count on it for their food supply. We can act at the WTO this autumn to strike a multilateral agreement to curb fishery subsidies that encourage overfishing and harm our oceans. We can do much more to reduce the agricultural subsidies that crowd out the small farmer, harm the environment, and blur the economic signals on which efficient production, resource allocation, and trade all depend. We must lower tariffs that make the hungry hungrier by raising the price of food. The WTO's 12th Ministerial Conference starting on 30th November this year is an opportunity to make progress on these issues. I'm hopeful that WTO members may be able to agree not to restrict exports of food purchased by the World Food Programme. This would enable this Nobel Prize-winning sister organization to better perform its vital humanitarian mission. Please roll up your sleeves and support the multilateral trading system now. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, for your words. We remain hopeful that the international trading framework will contribute to a fairer world and to more sustainable supply chains. Let us now hear from a new initiative by public development banks.
Dear friends and colleagues, farmers need financial services. They need loans to buy seeds. They need savings and insurance to bear the negative effects of drought and floods. Public development banks can help make this happen. They have the resource base, the right business model, and the financial firepower. This is why IFAD has partnered with the French development agency AFD, the Italian Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, and the Finance in Common Coalition on Financing Sustainable Food Systems to launch a coalition of action for inclusive and sustainable food system finance.
Today, there are more than 40 PDBs specialized in agriculture and 70 with large portfolios in the agricultural sector. These institutions represent no less than a quarter of all PDBs and almost two-thirds of the formal financial sector for agriculture. This data highlights the opportunity to leverage PDBs as strategic actors to achieve qualitative and transformative change. They can play a guiding role by setting up standards to make food systems evolve. They can promote financial inclusion and sustainable agriculture investments. They can leverage private finance.
Together, PDB have the financial power to address market failures, particularly in time of crisis such as the COVID-19 pandemic. We need to be part of the change, driving a paradigm shift, placing greater reliance on strategic partnership. Our coalition of action for inclusive and sustainable food system finance champions this approach to achieve our shared goals for people, planet, and prosperity.
Over the past years, under IFAD's leadership, the Finance in Common working group of PDBs has continued to evolve with benefits for participating PDBs. To FIRA, this has meant an opportunity to increase learning, sharing best practices, and discover innovation related to agricultural finance.
Public development banks are already playing a critical role. But to make food system more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable, public development banks need to tackle the constraints that have prevented them from meeting the needs of small-scale producers. A first concrete deliverable will be establishing a PDB platform that accelerates learning and innovation while also mobilizing and deploying capital. We invite member states, civil society, producers' organizations, and private sector who share our vision and ambition for an inclusive and green food system transformation to join us in this coalition. Together, we can shape the way forward.
That is just fantastic. We know that mobilizing capital will be critical to achieve our ambitions, and this is a step in the right direction. We now move to our final segment with more heads of state who will be presenting their commitments and visions of a national pathway. To kick us off, let me please welcome His Excellency Borut Pahor, President of the Republic of Slovenia.
Distinguished Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Slovenia warmly welcomes the first Food System Summit. We want it to inspire further action towards sustainable and resilient agri-food system. Despite growing awareness of the importance of food for every society, hunger and malnutrition in all its forms are on the rise. The main causes for hunger and malnutrition lie in the unsustainable system of food production and consumption. All that has been made even worse by the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. In Slovenia, we follow the growth of humanitarian needs with deep concern. Since 2014, my country has doubled its contribution for food security. This year, Slovenia is helping to ensure food and water security for children and other vulnerable groups in Madagascar through a CAMOSA founded by Father Pedro Opeka. We know Madagascar's famine is the first in the modern history to be caused solely by global warming. Apart from humanitarian assistance, we need to promote responsible investment in food system and environmentally friendly agriculture, as well as prevention of food losses and waste. And let us not forget about the essential role of bees and wild pollinators in ensuring food security and nutrition. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to underline the significant role of the 3 Rome-based UN agencies and the Committee on World Food Security, the most inclusive global platform for food security and nutrition issues. The first Food System Summit is an excellent opportunity to discuss and agree not only on what, but also on how to accelerate the transition to sustainable and resilient food system. I hope very much the follow-up process will find truly game-changing solutions that we and our planet urgently need. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like to now present our next speaker, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, where agriculture is one of the President's Big 5 agenda.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, my administration in Kenya has focused on ensuring 100% food and nutrition security in Kenya. We also recognize that to feed a fast-growing population, we need a step change in policy, but also in practice. We have developed a Kenya Food Systems Call to Action. It seeks to develop food systems which are data-driven, inclusive, and innovative, and which ensure Kenya's food systems provide a rich and diverse diets and builds climate-resilient livelihoods. The specific actions we are taking include enhancing food production systems by making available relevant information to our farmers and traders through national e-voucher programs, market information systems, as well as commodity exchanges. We are also engaging youth in agriculture. The launch of our 4K clubs and our young farmers clubs will engage the youth in the food production cycle, ignite their passion for agriculture. We are also increasing access to nutritious foods and diversifying the diet by bringing back forgotten and neglected traditional foods, investing in fisheries, aquaculture, livestock, fruit and vegetable farming. We are also enhancing our school meals feeding and school milk program. I am pleased that Kenya is taking leadership in the School Meals Coalition as a critical driver to institutionalizing nutrition-based school feeding programs in all participating countries. Harnessing the power of innovation, as well as digital technologies in agriculture, fostering an environment that allows our innovators to thrive and contribute to agricultural transformation. Using mobile technologies, we are equipping our farmers with information on markets, but also on inputs. But we haven't forgotten climate-smart agriculture programs. And here, we will further expedite our ecosystem restoration efforts through agroforestry, reforestation, and to ensure sustainable use of our natural resources. To support transformation of our economies, I would like to challenge our global financial institutions to innovate and to design appropriate de-risking and financing instruments for increased investment in agriculture. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for being part of this important summit and for putting food systems at the heart of your administration's policy. Next, another leader who has put people at the heart of their manifesto and where so many livelihoods depends on agriculture. I'd like to welcome Su Excelencia Luis Alberto Arce Catacora, President of the plurinational state of Bolivia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give warm greetings to the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, for having convened this summit. I'd like to greet the heads of state and government, councillors, delegates, representatives of various different sectors that are part of the food systems. All of the peoples that are gathered together in this important meeting. This has brought us together in order to try to transform food systems into healthy systems that are produced by sustainable means and which are also show equity. Now, we are coming here to this meeting not with empty hands. We are coming here with a proposal that has been made up with the voices of the various stakeholders and with a wide set of regulations across the country, and as a country that is always fighting for food security and self-sufficiency. And it's based on living well. It's about collective well-being. And with Mother Earth, we want to work to create lifestyles that allow us to move together forward in reducing extreme poverty and in protecting the environment and in strengthening productive systems that are sustainable. So we really focus on the importance of having traditional and smallholder food production, family, community production, conventional production, which is the basis of protecting lifestyles and allows us to drive a food system based on sustainable agriculture. We're very happy to have seen that in the pre-summit in Rome, that our proposal was very similar to those of other member states. We can see that local, organic, traditional, and indigenous agriculture is absolutely essential to a lot of different societies, and also for reinforcing food systems. So we agree that it is very important for this purpose. I'm sure that the results of this summit and the commitments that we take on will only be possible if we work together. We have different potentials, but we need to act urgently and quickly. We only have 9 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. We need to do this now, and we need to do this collectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks, perspectives, and for clear vision. Next, we will hear from another passionate leader from Central America. It's my honor to give the floor to Su Excelencia Señor Juan Orlando Hernández Alvarado, President of the Republic of Honduras.
Sus Excelencias, Señor Secretario General
Excellencies, Mr. Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, ladies and gentlemen, Honduras, over these last 2 years, has faced up to the worst crisis in its history. The COVID-19 pandemic brought our health system to its knees and seriously threatens food production. It seriously threatened food security. Now, that wasn't all. In November 2020, we were severely struck by 2 terrible hurricanes, Eta and Iota, which caused great loss of life, severe damage to crops, and an unprecedented destruction of our infrastructure. When we started our government mandate, we said that we were going to increase production. And a lot of people thought it was a mistake because of the climatological conditions of the region we wanted to support. But if we can drive forward the dry corridor, but we need to be innovative. Our roadmap is focused on two directions. Firstly, to have equitable lifestyles and to reduce inequality. So we need legal and institutional changes and public policies based on food security. And we need a significant investment in digital infrastructure directed towards rural areas, giving access to digital platforms for education, health, trade, and working from home or smart working. We need to create resilience before commotions, tensions, and vulnerabilities. As a country, we have clear goals based on food. Firstly, we need to ensure that the same number of children receive food in schools as before the pandemic. And we want to achieve that by 2022. Secondly, for 2030, we want to improve the quality and quantity and efficiency of school food programs so that they reach all children, and as well as producing nutritional food in a sustainable way and a cheap way through the use of agrotechnology, they also ensure access to digital connection platforms that are self-sustainable from an energy point of view. With this view in mind, the promotion of good food in school is central to the development of the peoples because it goes to the root problem of hunger, poverty, violence, and emigration. Dear all, the time is over for just talking. Now we need to get to work to ensure permanent access to health, nutrition, and education so that people can grow and develop healthily, surrounded by their family, in their communities, because the privilege of preserving traditions and cultures intact in an environment of peace. And to be able to actively participate in the global market of the future in conditions of justice and equality. And I agree with the Secretary General of the UN. I agree that we're able to prosper in harmony with the planet and always thinking about the well-being of everyone without leaving anyone behind. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Su Excelencia. Thank you very much. I'd like to call on next His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President of Africa's largest economy and most populous nation.
Secretary General, Heads of State and Government, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank the Secretary General of the United Nations for convening the 2021 Food Systems Summit. It is a bold step towards achieving the 2030 Global Development Agenda at a time coronavirus pandemic and its attendant consequences is threatening progress. Indeed, climate change, conflict, demography, and coronavirus have exposed the fragility of global food systems, which SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and other SDGs are aimed at mitigating. The fragility and inequality of our current food systems and its suboptimal nature requires significant changes in policies, practices, and business models to make our food system fit for purpose. Such changes would also enable the development of food systems that are based on robust evidence and take account of country context and emerging global trends and realities. Over the past several months, we have engaged in dialogue with numerous stakeholders to understand their food systems, experiences, and needs. Although we have made significant progress in the input and food production and processing, we still have gaps in storage and logistics. Unfortunately, this means we still have high levels of post-harvest losses. The stakeholders stressed that the setting up of a food system focused plugging these gaps while prioritizing healthy diets and affordable nutrition will go a long way in improving lives and livelihoods of the over 200 million Nigerians. Our goal remains to have an efficient and inclusive food system. This is vital, especially taking into account the impact of climate change. Following the recommendations from the dialogues and our plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within a decade, Nigeria is committed to A. Supporting private sector investments in food storage and transportation. B. Investing in food security and nutrition knowledge dissemination, skills development, and information management systems to enhance agricultural productivity. C. Building sustainable, responsive, and inclusive food systems by integrating our medium-term National Development Plan 21 to 2025 and the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy and the Food Nutrition Policy. D. Enhancing the productivity of smallholder farmers and empowering women and youth for greater access to food production and processing assets and resources. E. Addressing the drivers of food insecurity like food inflation and changing consumption patterns to increase the consumption of nutritious and healthy foods, including in humanitarian contexts. F. Strengthening climate mitigation strategies and the conflict early warning system that will reduce the many stresses and shocks to our food systems. Our National Livestock Transformation Plan is one of such initiatives. And finally, developing a sub-national food systems dashboard to link research, innovation, and extension for a sustainable food system. As we work to transform our food systems and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda, we hope to learn from and collaborate with member states that have grappled or are grappling with food systems concerns similar to ours. We especially support the emerging coalitions of actions and sustainable food systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your commitments of actions and for taking the time to join us for this essential discussion. And now it is my great honor to welcome His Excellency General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand. The Kingdom of Thailand has made formidable contributions to the agricultural revolution.
Mr. Secretary General of the United Nations, distinguished delegates, it is my pleasure and honor to attend the Food Systems Summit today. As Thailand is a major agricultural producing country, I fully appreciate the importance of food systems in sustaining lives. The COVID-19 pandemic has clearly exposed social inequalities and vulnerabilities of food systems in each country. Therefore, I urge all of us to work together to transform our food systems towards greater sustainability and balance in all dimensions. Most importantly, we need to strengthen food security and ensure equitable access to safe and healthy food for all to achieve the SDGs. In Thailand, the Agriculture for School Lunch Project, under the royal patronage of Her Royal Highness Princess Mahajakri Sirinthorn, is one of our success stories in addressing food insecurity and malnutrition among young people in rural and remote areas. I'd like to commend the UN for its proposed framework of 5 action tracks for food systems transformation, which aligns with Thailand's vision of security, prosperity, and sustainability. Our agri-food policies emphasize the 3 S's: food safety, food security, and sustainability of natural resources and agroecology. In addition, Thailand is also advancing the Bio-Circular Green Economy Model, or BCG model, to pursue sustainable, balanced, and inclusive economic and social growth. All of these efforts are based on the 20-year national strategy, guided by the sufficiency economy philosophy and the Sustainable Development Goals. Additionally, the Royal Thai government also attaches importance to soil and water resource management. Thailand has joined the UN in designating the 5th of December as World Soil Day. Meanwhile, Thailand and the FAO also confer the annual King Bhumibol World Soil Day Award upon countries, institutions, or individuals for their outstanding achievements in this area. Distinguished delegates, looking ahead, the Royal Thai government stands ready to work closely together with our partners and coalitions at both national and global levels to strengthen the resilience of our food systems. To conclude, Thailand recognizes that today's summit is the People's Summit and marks an important step forward in this decade of action in transforming food systems towards achieving the SDGs that leave no one behind. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Your Excellency, for your intervention. We will now hear from Her Excellency Josefa Sako, African Union Commissioner regarding Common African Position on this food systems agenda.
Thank you, Excellency, for giving me the floor. I stand on behalf of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat. Excellency, President of the United Nations General Assembly, Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, Head of State and Government, Special Envoy of the Secretary General of the 2021 United Nations Food System, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly observed. I thank the Secretary General of the United Nations for inviting the African Union to this summit on food system, where the chairperson of the Union is going to present his outlook African common position. Africa plans to double food production by sustainably increase productivity through the adoption of a high-yielding agricultural variety, while supporting research to develop biotechnology and innovation. As you all know, climate change is having a negative impact on food system. Africa emits the least greenhouse gases, but it is the most impacted by the action of others. We are seeing extreme weather events like rising temperature, prolonged droughts on the continent, flood and landslide in various parts of our continent. We call on all UN member states to implement their commitment under the Paris Agreement on climate change, on rich countries to support the poorest countries to cope with and mitigate the impact of climate change. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted our food system. We hope that the result of this summit will help our member states to better rebuild and create resilient food systems. Thanks to the African Continental Free Trade Area, Africa is open for business. However, we want to trade with each other and with the rest of the world in a mutually beneficial way. Africa must feed itself and depend less on food imports. We intend to invest in infrastructure and improve food safety, compliance, and standards. We are also committed to reduce endemic non-tariff barriers at the border in order to stimulate trade on the continent. We call on our member states to adopt the multi-sectoral approach to transforming food systems and encourage them to join the various partnerships and coalitions being created to advance solutions favorable to Africa's common position and national interests. In order to support our member states, we call for the establishment under the initiative of the African Development Bank of a financial mechanism for food and nutrition security in Africa. Finally, we must have a monetary system to measure progress and hold each other accountable for the outcoming of these summits. As this is the case with the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, CADEP, we are ready to consider modifying the letter to integrate the food system approach into monitoring progress towards 2030 and to share our lesson and experience with the rest of the world. I thank you for your kind attention.
Sharing these important remarks. This session has now come to an end, and I would like to thank all our esteemed guests who were able to join us and share some very encouraging remarks. I would also like to thank you all for watching and for being part of this important session. We will be having a short break and we will resume shortly for the next session entitled Carrying Forward the Vision and Momentum for 2030. Thank you all for watching and being part of this important conversation.